The meeting is now being live streamed. So, right then. Right, so the purpose of today's meeting is to consider the application for a temporary events notice made by Eternity Events Essex in respect to the premises of 43 Tillingham Way, Rayleigh. Please could the applicant or representative introduce themselves?
Hello. So I'm the applicant, Anita Robertson. So I assist in running Eternity Events with my husband, which we've done for the past 21 years. Our business has grown over the years to incorporate the sale of alcohol.
That's all we need, just to introduce yourself at the moment.
Okay,
we can
sorry.
get to that a little bit later. Thank you. And do you have any witnesses you wish to call?
Tony is here, and Patricia and Alex Neville, whose party it is that we've.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, please could the council's licensing officer introduce themselves?
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Greener. I'm the Principal Licensing Officer for Rochford District Council.
And Stephen, do you have any witnesses you might wish to call?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. And could the responsible authority introduce themselves?
Afternoon, my name's Siobhan Sheridan, Rochford District Council, Environmental Health.
And have you got any witnesses you might want to call later?
No.
No. All right. Have all the parties received the agenda and report for today's hearing? Yes, I'll take in nodding heads. Brilliant. Right, the committee will now follow the procedure set out in procedural notes on 3, 4, right. Now, this is to consider the report of the Assistant Director of People and Communities, which asks members to determine an application for the issue of a temporary events notice made under Section 100 of the Licensing Act 2003 in respect to the premises known as 43 Tillingham Way, Rayleigh. There we go. And right, could all parties be reminded they have 15 minutes to present their cases? And could Mr. Greener like to summarise the application, please?
Thank you very much. As I said, we will literally just do a summary rather than me from reading out the full application. As it's already been said, this is an application for a temporary event notice under Section 100 of the Licensing Act. On the 11th of November 2021, a temporary event notice was received by email from Anita Robertson of Eternity Events Essex, and a copy of the application is attached as Appendix A. The notice is for a 21st birthday event to be held at Tillingham Way in Rayleigh on the 4th of December 2021 between 1800 hours and midnight on the 4th of December 2021. The licensable activities are for the sale of alcohol and the provision of regulated entertainment, with a maximum number of people attending. The event is to be 100. The venue does not hold a premises license, and no conditions can be applied to this application. The application was sent to Essex Police and Environmental Health, as I said, on the 11th of November for consultation, with a deadline of the 16th of November 2021. The application was reviewed by Essex Police licensing team, and no representations have been made against the application. An objection notice has been received from Rochford District Council Environmental Health team on the grounds that the use of the premises in accordance with the temporary event notice would undermine the public nuisance objective of the Act. And a copy of the objection notice is attached as Appendix B. With permission, I'm going to jump to the very end of the report, is around the recommendations. It is proposed that the subcommittee resolves to determine whether the event would undermine the licensing objective of public nuisance and serve a counter notice stating the reasons for that decision, or to allow the licensable activities to go ahead as stated in the application and the notice. And that's the end of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Now, the members of the subcommittee may ask questions of Stephen. And anybody like to ask some questions? No, don't see any hands. No, okay then. I will move on. So
And just before you move on, I couldn't get to the participants in time.
Okay. Yeah,
Just
that's
one
right.
question.
Councillor Stanley, if you've got a question.
Thank you, Chairman. To Stephen, what is there a maximum number of people allowed on this particular event?
I can confirm on the application, it has stated the maximum will be 100 people to be attending as per the application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? I do remind you, if you can't get the hand, you can press Alt and Y, and that will put a hand up as well. No, okay, so I will move on. So Siobhan, if you'd like to state the case of the authority.
Okay, thank you. 43 Tillingham Way is located in the cul-de-sac location. It's surrounded.
Sorry, Chair, just to interject. Do you just want to double check that none of the other the other parties had any questions?
Oh,
to the applicant or the responsible authority?
Okay, did Tony or Anita have any questions of Simon? No. Okay. Sorry, Siobhan.
No problem. So yes, 43 Tillingham Way is located in a cul-de-sac location, surrounded by residential noise sensitive properties. Nearby to 43 Tillingham Way is sheltered accommodation, Chignall House. It consists of 44 flats, and it provides accommodation to people over the age of 60 or over the age of 55 if they're in receipt of certain benefits, i.e. disability living allowance. The application made is for a 21st birthday, consisting of a marquee in the back garden of the property, finishing at midnight. Environmental Health are of the opinion that complaints of noise nuisance are likely, and that if the event were to take place, it will undermine the licensing objective for the prevention of public nuisance. A marquee in a residential garden provides no sound attenuation. The materials a marquee is made up of means that it's very close to being acoustically transparent. A DJ will be providing the music. Music is made up of different frequencies, and low frequency or bass travels very easily through windows and walls without being absorbed and are more likely to be heard. Given this is a 21st birthday party, it is anticipated that the type genre of music is likely to be bassier. You'll also have the potential of people singing along to some of their favourite songs. Consideration should also be given to the ambient sound level reduces at night, and therefore background noise levels will be significantly quieter at the time of the event taking place. Consideration should also be given that on conclusion of the event, you have 100 people dispersing into a cul-de-sac location, or people will continue to linger, chatting into the early hours of the morning. Therefore, Environmental Health are of the opinion that this type of event would be more suited to an indoor location or a location where there are no noise sensitive properties.
So it's finished?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members have any questions of Siobhan? Councillor Stanley? You're on mute, Councillor Stanley. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Just how close are the properties that you mentioned in the way of the home and that sort of thing to the relevant place of the party?
I haven't got exact measurements, but the property is located in the middle of a residential built up area and is surrounded by properties on all four sides.
Is the homes that you're talking about, are they within that area that we're talking? Are they sort of in close proximity? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
because I don't know the area that well.
Yeah, so the area, as I say, is a built-up residential housing estate. So the properties are in close proximity to each other. Say the actual property is at the bottom of a cul-de-sac, so it's got properties on either side. There's properties to the rear, and when you look on Google Maps, there is a footpath, and then there's sheltered accommodation on the other side of that footpath. And as I say, that sheltered accommodation provides 44 flats for elderly people.
Now it's your
Thank you.
question, Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Gooding, you got any questions? Have the applicants got any questions of the council officer? No? Okay, I will move on to the could the applicants like to put their submission across, please?
Hi. So as I mentioned, we have been running our events business for 21 years. And over this time, we have grown and have recently included the sale of alcohol, where we gained our personal licenses in September 2017. In all the time that we have traded, we have never received a call from the abatement officer for sound. We are a respectful company, not just of our clients, but for the environment in which we reside, and over the years have gained contracts with many local venues, including the Rayleigh Club, the Holiday Inns in both Southend and Basildon, the Westcliff Hotel, Halfway House, Saxon Hall. In fact, we even do the sound and AV for Rochford Council for your business breakfasts. Our hotels use us as they know that we control not just the noise level, but also the frequency. We do roll off the bass because this is the cause of the majority of sound travel. They also know that we will turn the music off at 12 o'clock, not just for their license, but for the comfort of the customers of the hotels in which they are also staying. Recently, we've been working with Rayleigh Club as they have had some noise issues with local neighbours. And on investigation by the Rayleigh Club, they have now restricted anybody else that can play there to Eternity events, or indeed they have to be supervised by us. As for all jobs of this nature, we will keep the noise to a respectful level within 80 decibels, I believe that is. We will roll back the bass to restrict the sound travel. The marquee is lined to absorb some of the sound, and we will record all the sound levels with a decibel reader, which we use in lots of our venues. At this time of year, it is cold weather, and so most people will have windows and doors closed. And with the recent coronavirus pandemic, I think that people are a little more tolerant for people having parties at home. We have undertaken a number of jobs in marquees in gardens over the years, and since our approval with our mobile bar, many are outside of Rochford jurisdiction. But one of the most similar setup that I can draw your attention to would be in 69 Cheapside East, just before the pandemic on the 1st of February 2020, which ran without any concerns or complaints. I've asked Tony to join me because he will be overseeing the sound aspects of this event, as he has done for all of the events over the last 21 years, and has all the technical knowledge regarding sound. And I've asked Mrs. Neville and her daughter Alex, whose party it is, so that they can share any specifics around their neighbours. But Patricia informs me that she has not only contacted her neighbours, but invited them to the party to celebrate their daughter's 21st birthday. I hope that you can see that although we like to party, we do this in a respectful manner, which is how we have been in business for all this time. We have and would not want to jeopardise this for the sake of one party. So we respectfully ask you to approve our application for a temporary event notice at 43 Tillingham Way on the 4th of December.
Thank you, Anita. Is any witnesses you would like to speak or anything? Alexandra, or yes, you've muted yourself again.
Oh, I would just also like to add, actually, although I put 100 on the temporary event notice, that was just to allow for any fluctuations in numbers. But actually, I believe Alex and Patricia would be able to tell you that I think it is actually less than 100. I just wanted to be on the safe side. And again, with the timings, I always set up a little bit earlier just to account for anybody wanting to start to drink a little earlier. But actually, I don't believe the party is due to start until 7:30, and the guest numbers are lower. And Patricia and Alex would be able to fill you in on those exact numbers.
Thank you. Patricia and Alex, if you've got your hand up, you'd like to unmute yourselves.
Yes, hello. Yes, there is actually going to be about 80 people attending. I have, although our close neighbours are actually attending the party, they've also, I've got 3 written statements here from our 3 closest neighbours, just saying that they don't have any problem at all with the issue of having a one-off party. So I don't know whether you need me to send these in to you. I'm quite happy to do that so you can see them. But again, it's part, I mean, my question as well is, if we didn't have Eternity Events doing this party, we would have the party at home anyway, and it would be in the garden, and we would have a marquee up. So if we was using our own music, then you're still going to be faced with the same issue. We wouldn't have had to have gone to the council to do that.
Okay, thank you.
This is our own private property.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else wish to add on that? Okay. Any members got any questions they'd like to ask? Jim? Councillor Gooding, you're on mute.
This is to Alex, and what is the parking like round your way? Is it good parking? Would it be? Could you see it causing a problem? The parking?
Not going to be a problem.
Sorry, go on.
Go on.
Go on. No,
It won't be a problem. We've got a drive that houses 5 cars anyway. My daughter actually lives in Cheapside West, where we're going to be moving 2 of the cars around there off of our drive. And there is also, further down the road, there is a wall situated on the right-hand side, and that can house parking with no restrictions at all. So it's not an issue for us.
Right. And the slamming of doors when people leave, etc., you don't see that being an issue?
There will be an awful lot of people that will be taking taxis and that anyway. Plus, I've got at least about 30 members of my family coming anyway, and they're not, you know, they're the same age as me. They're not going to make a load of noise when they're leaving.
Right. No, that's fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Finished, Jim? Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. Although we've looked at the parking situation and noted that some of the participants will be coming in taxis, 80 people could end up with 60 cars being at the event, and there isn't adequate parking around there. But nevertheless, and also of the late night slamming of doors. Have you got a marshal that is responsible for the parking of the vehicles and people leaving? I would request that you would have a marshal. I would expect you would have a marshal for that. Also, something to Tony, the 80 decibels, can you give any indication as to what the pitch is with 80 decibels at 9 o'clock at night when the atmosphere is very, very quiet? So there is no noise from traffic or anything like that to dull the noise down. Can you give a demonstration of what that is, please?
You say the pitch. I'm not quite sure what you mean by the pitch. What do you mean, the level 80 decibels?
Yes, what the 80 decibels is in relation to what we would normally hear from a radio.
Okay, so when people sometimes sing at the Rayleigh Club without any actually amplified music, they quite often hit 80 decibels. So 80 decibels is a low level. I mean, the level that's set at the Rayleigh Club is 90 decibels. But I will be going off property with the monitor every hour and recording the decibel level. Something that we didn't put into the application either, that I must add, is this is actually a 70s and 80s themed party. So all the music is going to be 70s and 80s. It's not a 21st birthday rave where it's going to be R&B music and very bass driven music. It's actually a 70s and 80s theme party. Everyone's going in fancy dress. So the music is going to be of that genre. So it's not a 21st birthday rave where it's all garage and jungle music, which is very bass driven. It is actually a 70s and 80s themed party. So, you know, I think that needs to be taken into consideration because it's a very different type of music to what the 21st raves are.
Thank you, Tony.
Can I just come back, please, Chairman?
Councillor Stanley, yeah, you want to come
Yes,
back?
in relation to the parking, will there be a monitor on the parking?
You mean a marshal, Councillor
Not a
Stanley?
marshal, a monitor, whatever you like to call him, that can ease the parking around that area, or several of them. I don't know what's, you know, because there could be an awful lot of vehicles and people that need to get to their premises or need to get away from their premises, and that includes ambulance and fire engine should that happen and should that occur. It's no good putting the cars in the road when emergency vehicles can't get down the road to get to the emergencies. So, and I do understand, Tony, that you have had venues not other than the one in Cheapside, but most of your venues are in larger places, so that wouldn't come into effect. But this is a cul-de-sac, and the venue, although it be, as you turn around and say, a 70s and 80s theme, it's still nevertheless, it's in a confined area. And I just wonder if you have got the right, the right things going on in that with your person that you're dealing with. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Stanley. Who'd like to answer that?
Well, I could answer and say that I will put one of my members of staff on the parking when people are turning up. I'll have someone out the front. One of the things we would never do is block someone's drive or indeed block access for emergency vehicles. As we said in our statement, we are a responsible company and we're not going to just do the party without any consideration to other people in the area. That's not how we operate. And going back to the Cheapside East party we did, that is also a cul-de-sac. And that was the same. And actually, you know, over the summer, we've done probably 30 or so different marquee jobs. Every one of those has had a DJ, but not all of them have had alcohol, or they've supplied their own alcohol, so I haven't needed the need for a license. And many of those have been in cul-de-sacs and very small confined areas. And again, you know, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any complaints. I operate no alcohol policy for me and all of my staff when I'm working. So when we're working, we are completely on top of what's going on and keeping control of things. And we act in a responsible way, not only to the people whose party it is, but if there's any neighbours that have got any slight concerns, we will address them.
Thank you very much, Tony. Is that okay, Councillor Stanley?
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Siobhan, you've got your hand up for a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, obviously in regards to the applicant, when we receive complaints of noise, we would write to the occupiers of the premise, not necessarily the applicant. So unless you're going back to your applicant after the event, you might be unaware of complaints being received in regards to noise for events that have taken place. in respect of obviously temporary events, because if we would take any kind of formal action, it's normally against the occupier of the premises, not necessarily the applicant. So you might not always be aware that we're in receipt of complaints about that particular event or premises. Also, just to clarify as well, you referred to the Rayleigh Club and their decibel level of being 90 dB. Considering that's an indoor event, 90 dB, and you're looking to provide 80 dB outside in a marquee that has no sound attenuation whatsoever. And there are also conditions attached to the premise license and for that particular premises that plays 90 dB in regards to having windows and doors closed at all times, and they're not allowed outside after a certain time. So I just wanted to clarify that in regards to some comparison in regards to what the noise levels are. Also, you referred to your sound level meter. Could you clarify as to when your sound limiter was last calibrated, and is it in accordance with the manufacturer's guidelines in regards to calibration?
Well, it's brand new. This is a brand new meter, which we've just had a load of new ones delivered. So I guess it comes calibrated, but you can calibrate it. So we could calibrate it the day before. So you can self-calibrate it on here and set it. So it's a simple procedure to calibrate the meter.
Okay.
Sorry, can you just confirm when you purchased your meter?
About 6 weeks ago.
6 to 8 weeks ago, yeah.
I had in my mind from your first question, sorry, and I need a reminder on to what it was.
Oh, I think it was to do with the lining of the marquee.
No,
because the marquee, your marquee is going to be fully lined. It's going to be fully lined, which it does absorb a lot of sound.
And I think because there's an air bund between the lining and the actual marquee and stuff, so that air bund also gives you some
protection.
Thank you. Siobhan, is that okay? Okay.
Sorry. She was saying about the not knowing about the complaints and stuff. Actually, the people at 69 Cheapside, in fact, have become friends, and actually, I'm sure they would have told us had there been any of concerns. So we've actually socialised with them since then.
Okay, thank you, Alexander. And you've got your hand up. You want to add something to the question that Siobhan asked?
Yes, I just wanted to ask Siobhan a question. How do people stand when they're in their own private property and they do have parties and DJs when you're not aware of it?
Well, obviously, we receive complaints to the council.
If you don't get complaints?
Well, if we don't get complaints, there's nothing to investigate. But the whole purpose of this process of going through the licence subcommittee is that obviously it's been brought to our attention that it's 21st birthday, it's been held outside, and we're of the opinion that complaints are likely based on our experience of events that have taken across the district, and obviously the locality of your premises in regards to being in a built-up area. And as I say, as a local authority, when we receive complaints and noise, we have a duty to investigate those.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
Siobhan, for the answer.
Do you actually need me then to send you these statements from the neighbours? Because we've got the 3 neighbours' statements. We've got the house next door to one of the neighbours that's actually currently empty because it's been sold. We've got another neighbour across the way that's going to be away from next Wednesday. So,
Alexander, can I just stop you and ask solicitors, are they necessary, Chris?
Thank you, Chair. I think usually you would want any kind of written evidence and that kind of thing before the hearing. It is, I think, within your discretion, Chair, if you want to accept that, or if you would rather, and perhaps this would be the best option, is to kind of, you know, give appropriate weight after the hearing to what's been said orally to that evidence, rather than kind of being sent through anything now. Like I said, if you feel you need it as members, then you can, but it may be better kind of at this stage of the hearing to kind of, you know, after we can kind of discuss how much weight you want to give to those representations.
I'm happy to give way after the hearing when we discuss this.
Thank you.
If members are happy with that. Yes, okay. Councillor Stanley, if we can make this the last one, if nobody else has got anything important, anything.
Yeah, just a quickie, Chairman. Does the sound volume at 80 decibels, can that be lowered? As it's not necessary really to have quite loud music. I'm sure that the company alone will make the music or enjoy the party as they would do, whether it was lowered to a better degree to help the area that it's being held in. The marquee in itself will have an opening for people to come and go, so you'll have 1/4 of the marquee open, and the sound will be coming from that area. So even though you've got what you say as a buffer zone in the marquee, you've got 1/4 of it open for the sound to come out, unless you enclose it completely, and you wouldn't get 80 people in a marquee, I don't suppose, for doing what they're doing, unless you're in a field, of course, but we're not in a field at the time. So can the decibels be lowered, please?
Tony, if you'd like to answer that.
Hello there. Yes, absolutely. The decibels can be lowered. You know, we've got full control over the volume, and we will be lowering it. Now, we're also heating the marquee. So the door, there will not be 1/4 of the marquee open. The marquee actually has a door in it, which basically operates on a zip. And once the people are in the party, the marquee will be heated. So we will not be keeping the door open. For that reason, because obviously it's going to be quite cold on the 4th of December, so we've got heating going into the marquee, so the door will be kept down. Obviously people will need to go in and out of the door to go to the lavatory, but I can lower the music to any level. You know, it can be set at any level. 80 decibels is a fairly low level, but it can be lowered. You know, it can be low. You know, we're only going to use very small speakers in the marquee. We're not taking what's called bass box speakers and then top speakers. It's not going to be a big disco setup. It's going to be, we use what's called a 10-inch speaker, which gives a very tight controlled sound and not the deep bass that goes below 100 hertz. Because it's below 100 hertz that causes the noise pollution. So we can, and this system has settings in it, so we can actually roll the speakers off and tell them not to deliver below 100 hertz to the actual loudspeaker. It's called a DSP setting, and that's what we do in a lot of our venues, especially hotels where you've got people sleeping upstairs. So the people in the party get to enjoy the music, but it's at a volume that it doesn't interfere with other people, and you haven't got those big deep bass notes. So, and the marquee is big enough for 80 people. It's an 8 metre by 6 metre marquee going in plus an extension. So it's effectively a 10 metre by 6 metre marquee, which is adequate for 80 people, because we're not having any tables or chairs. So it's going to be a dance floor and a bar area. So there's, you know, all 80 people will be inside the marquee.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Is there any more questions at all? I can't see anybody with any more questions. So right then, so now we come to closing statements. Parties have 2 minutes each for closing statements. So Stephen, you got a closing statement?
Nothing from myself, thank you.
Thank you. Siobhan?
Sorry, just to reiterate, obviously this is the marquee in a back garden and built up residential area. It's a 10 that cannot be conditioned. So the option of lowering the dB level might be an informal agreement, but it's not something that can be enforced because no conditions can be attached to the 10. And we're still of the opinion that this type of event in this locality is likely to give rise to complaints of noise nuisance and will undermine the licensing objective of public nuisance.
Thank you. Who wants to give the closing statement from the applicants?
I would just like to reiterate that we are a respectful company that will do all we can to minimise the disruption to the local residents. and that we will I forgot what I was going to say. The more that we can to minimise the disruption for this one-off party, that it's not as if it happens on a regular basis. It is to celebrate Alex's 21st birthday with her family and friends.
Can I just add that obviously, as being in the entertainment industry, you can imagine that our business has been absolutely decimated, decimated to zero during COVID, and we're just getting back on our feet. So whilst we do fully respect your concerns, I think there should be some consideration taken into the fact that we are working in a responsible manner, and we will take into consideration any neighbours that have got any concerns. But we would like to be able to function as a business and celebrate Alex's 21st birthday party with her. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Right then, thank you everybody for participating. The committee will now adjourn to consider the case. We will return shortly. I don't know how long, so don't know how long we're going to be talking about this. And announce the decision. The decision will be sent to you in writing. If you say you don't have to wait, but you're welcome to wait if you'd like to. And Sonia will get in touch to invite you back when we've made a decision. Okay.
Super, thank you. So sorry, how do we wait? So what was?
I think Son.
Because I seem to have a part two. Is it just that I ring back in again at 3:30?
So Chairman, if I may, I'm assuming that Mr. Greener has got contact details for you. So as soon as we're ready to start that part two hearing, which will be roughly around about 3:30, it might be sooner, might be slightly later, depending on how long it takes to deliberate, we will contact you to let you know that we're restarting. Okay.